Look, I don't think anybody needs me to rehash the Sophie Cunningham story. Obviously, the fever trade for her in the offseason. She has that moment with J.C. Sheldon in that Sun game, protecting Caitlin Clark or enforcing laying down the law, if you will, that leads to just an explosion in popularity because she came off like such a badass, and obviously because, she is a badass, and because people were desperate or yearning for someone to step up for Caitlin Clark in that way. And there is the popularity that comes from the proximity of being around Caitlin Clark and playing for the Indiana Fever.
The sentence lingered in the air, a throwaway remark that triggered a massive reaction across the WNBA. "We need to get you to a Fever game," she said, sounding casual. Yet it was more than an invite. It felt like an unintentional reveal, a quiet signal pointing towards Sophie Cunningham stepping back onto the practice floor. Something fans had been waiting on for months. Nothing had been announced. Still, the meaning was clear. A new phase seemed ready to begin, one that could lock in her status as a Fever favorite and ignite another viral surge. The off-season calm was broken by a surprise moment that validated what supporters had been hoping all along.
Up for Caitlin Clark in that way. And there is the popularity that comes from the proximity of being around Caitlin Clark and playing for the Indiana Fever, something that Sophie Cunningham has capitalized on. Not to mention, she is a good part of the team, a key part of the team, somebody that can do a lot of things, can shoot the basketball, can handle it a little, can play multiple positions. She gets hurt towards the end of the season, which was another blow, but fit in well with the core four, as I put them, of Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark, and Lexi Hull, and just felt like a member of the team.
That simple line, spoken during a podcast, instantly lit up online speculation. Why would a well-known guest casually say something that fans were desperate to know about a free agent star? It sounded less like hope and more like a slip from someone aware of behind-the-scenes movement. The rumor cycle exploded, with listeners analyzing every word and linking clues that all pointed back to Sophie Cunningham returning to Indiana Fever. Social media erupted, first shock then excitement, as fans felt the comeback narrative snapping into place.
And Lexi Hull, and just felt like a member of the team going forward. With that said, she is a free agent, and Sophie has hinted at or at least alluded to the idea of testing the water, saying she's not a dumb blonde. She'll see what's out there for her, and she talked about wanting a bigger contract so she can be more secure in her living situation and everything that comes along with a contract. And some people took that as a little bit of negotiating, whatever. Now, she has this podcast, this Show Me Something podcast, where she talks about the Fever and Caitlin Clark and all that stuff. Quite a bit on there, but they had
to grasp why this moment mattered so much. We have to remember Sophie Cunningham's rapid rise into viral stardom. Her name became linked with fearlessness and loyalty built from one defining scene. She was no longer just another player. She turned into a symbol the league badly needed. Her on-court presence became shorthand for toughness and commitment, drawing attention far beyond normal basketball circles. This was never about points alone. It was about standing your ground, and fans connected deeply with that energy.
Whatever. Now, she has this podcast, this Show Me Something podcast, where she talks about the Fever and Caitlin Clark and all that stuff. Quite a bit on there, but they had a guest on this last one, and it wasn't an episode that made a lot of news because it doesn't really jive specifically with, the audience that I'm speaking to, a basketball audience. But Meredith Marks, who I looked up and is listed as a businesswoman and someone from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, was on. And this was the clip. You got to listen to the end.
I think for anyone who doesn't know, part of the whole reason this trio is happening right now is because
that defining scene was the now famous Sun game incident involving J.C. Sheldon. Cunningham reacted instantly, stepping in to protect Caitlin Clark with zero hesitation. The message was clear. She was not just competing, she was drawing a line. This was not planned or strategic. It was instinctive and raw. A moment of pure fire that won over fans immediately. Clips of her response spread everywhere, locking in her image as Clark's fierce defender.
As a businesswoman and someone from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City was on, and this was the clip. You got to listen to the end.
I think for anyone who doesn't know, part of the whole reason this trio is happening right now is because Meredith and I sat next to each other at the US Open, and I was asking her life story. I always ask people like Cubs or White Sox, and you're like not really into like many big team sports, but I love the WNBA.
I'm not really a sports girl in general. Like I'm not, but I went last year to the championship game, and it was the coolest experience I'd ever had in the sport.
The response from fans came fast and loud. In a league often accused of lacking physical accountability, supporters had been waiting for someone to step up for Caitlin Clark. Sophie became that figure overnight. She represented the toughness and bravery people wanted to see. Her actions fulfilled a deeper craving for fairness and protection on the floor. She turned into a fan favorite almost instantly. This story went beyond basketball. It became a narrative of enforcement, and Sophie filled that role perfectly, appearing again and again in viral highlights.
Sports, but I love the WNBA.
I'm not really a sports girl in general. Like I'm not, but I went last year to the championship game, and it was the coolest experience I'd ever had in the sports world. And I mean, I do love sports with horses. That I do actually do a little bit more. I do like horse racing or equestrian, any of that I do love. But in terms of like watching a basketball game with these women who are insanely incredible and rock stars, I am a huge supporter. I can't say I watch every game or anything because, like I said, I don't watch a ton of sports.
Her surge in popularity was not driven by intensity alone. It was also boosted by her connection to Caitlin Clark, the biggest draw in the league. Sharing the court with Clark in Indiana placed Sophie squarely in the spotlight. She rode the Caitlin Clark effect, and her own visibility skyrocketed. This was not random. It was the result of her talent, her memorable presence, and the massive attention surrounding her teammate. Together it formed something undeniable.
Supporter. I can't say I watch every game or anything because, like I said, I don't watch a ton of sports, but
you have a life. I get it.
I love it. Like, love it. I'm like such a fan. You have no idea.
Oh, well, thank you. We need to get you to a Fever game.
Need to get you to a Fever game. Look, I'm not going to read too much into it. I'm not going to say that indicates for certain that Sophie Cunningham will be back on the Indiana Fever. It's just an offhanded comment. But, you know, I think it reinforces a little bit what we all thought, right? And what we all...
Still, despite her rising value and growing fanbase, uncertainty hovered over her future. With free agency approaching, Sophie Cunningham was set to explore the market, leaving Fever fans anxious. Would she remain with the team that launched her viral moment, or move on to another franchise? This went beyond salary talk. It touched loyalty, opportunity, and the fear of losing a dynamic fans loved. The offseason turned into a tense waiting period, with every rumor closely examined.
Which is that the intent from both parties is for Sophie Cunningham to be back on the Indiana Fever. That has to be, you know, the goal, the plan. I mean, the Fever posted this around Christmas time, for the holidays, a little Soph on a loaf. That was the lead image there. Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull, the caddies for Caitlin Clark, playing golf. She fits in. She's become a star. She gets along with the star. I think it's in the stars for Sophie Cunningham to remain a Fever girl.
Sophie added fuel to the discussion through her own direct comments. She openly said she was not a dumb blonde and planned to see what options existed. This was not subtle positioning. It was a clear statement of self-worth and financial goals. She stressed wanting a stronger contract and stability in her life. Her honesty raised the stakes even more. Reactions were split. Some saw it as routine free agent strategy. Others worried it signaled a real possibility. She might leave the Fever. This conversation became bigger than money. It reflected a player demanding recognition in a league where contracts are constantly debated. Hope and concern pulled fans in opposite directions. Throughout all this, Sophie kept her link to the Fever and Caitlin Clark alive through her podcast Show Me Something. The show became a steady channel for discussing her former team and star teammate, keeping her presence strong among fans. It was not just content on the side. It was calculated and effective. Her name stayed in circulation, and interest never dropped. Then came the episode that sparked everything, featuring an unexpected guest, Meredith Marks. Known more for business and reality television, She was not the usual basketball guest. That alone caught attention. It felt like a crossover pulling new eyes toward the WNBA and setting up a moment no one expected. Marks admitted she was not traditionally into sports, which made her enthusiasm stand out even more. She shared her experience attending the championship game and praised the women of the league with genuine admiration. It did not feel forced. Her outsider perspective highlighted the WNBA's expanding reach and made her later comment carry extra weight. As the discussion continued, she doubled down on her support, saying she loved the league even if she could not watch every game. Her excitement felt real. She came across as a true supporter, helping build a positive tone before dropping the line that changed everything. Then it happened. During the conversation, Meredith Marks looked at Sophie and casually said, "We need to get you to a Fever game." It sounded harmless, yet the meaning behind it was huge. It was not framed as a question. It assumed her return as if it was already decided. The internet froze. Why did this matter so much? Because it did not sound like something you say to a free agent unless you already expect the outcome. It felt like an unofficial confirmation hinting talks were far along. A soft leak suggesting her practice return was already planned. Even as the podcast host tried to brush it off, he admitted it matched what everyone believed, that both sides wanted Sophie Cunningham back in Indiana. This was not speculation anymore. Combined with the comment, it felt almost settled. The Fever themselves added subtle clues. Around Christmas, they shared a holiday post featuring Sophie alongside teammates. That image spoke volumes during free agency. It showed connection and belonging. Another quiet sign she was still part of the core. Beyond the buzz, Sophie brings real value. She fit perfectly within the core group alongside Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark, and Lexi Hull. Her shooting flexibility and ability to fill multiple roles mattered deeply. Even injury late in the season did not erase her impact. She was more than a personality. She was essential. Her chemistry with Clark and the team made her presence even more important. Moments off the court, like golfing together, reinforced that bond. Everything pointed one way: Sophie Cunningham staying with the Fever. So while no official practice footage has appeared, the podcast moment paired with team signals and her on-court fit acts as strong unofficial confirmation. The clip went viral because it echoed what fans wanted most: Sophie continuing her run with Indiana Fever. Her return feels less like a possibility and more like a near certainty, setting up another powerful chapter in her WNBA story.